Like Toronto didn't let us do anything. I don't know what that is. I don't even know what you mean by that. All right, I'm going to bring in, I'm sorry, League, I'm going to have to move these maps. You're going to have to be okay with this.
He's going to start convulsing.
But Hannah and Hunter need to be able to see this.
Yeah, I'll appreciate that.
All right. Obviously, this is a map not of 1979. It's a map of the 1991 Gulf War, but the countries are still there, so we're going to use it. All right. We know that in 1953, the United States CIA overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh and put in the Shah of Iran, who's pro-American, right? And the Shah, do what? The Shah of Iran was pretty brutal. His people loved secret police. And eventually, an Islamic revolution, the guy, was Ayatollah Khomeini on there?
Yes.
Good.
On the next.
What's right where you're at?
Salt.
Salt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead, didn't I? Okay, let's talk about SALT II. Remember I had said that the Cold War was warming up again? SALT II was negotiated, but was never actually signed off on. And one of the reasons why was in 1979, this is actually on the map, but in 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, which bordered the Soviet Union. Because the Soviet Union used to be a lot of these countries that are independent, like the Soviet Union used to be Russia, but also Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, right? That used to all be part of the Soviet Union. And so it wasn't just Russian that was spoken, right? It had a ton of languages and a lot of different cultures. So Afghanistan was invaded, and during the Afghanistan invasion, America condemned it. And in fact, one of the ways we condemned it was by not sending our Olympians to the 1980 Summer Olympics, which was going to be held in Moscow. And consequently, as well, SALT II wasn't signed off as relations were breaking down between us and the Soviets. If we don't like the Soviets, and they're at war with Afghanistan, what do? Do what? Well, okay, you can't send in your troops, because if you send in American troops, the Cold War stops being cold, right? If it's Americans shooting at Soviets, okay, you support them. You support them through weapons, but it can't be American weapons, so you have to do it somewhere else. This is where the American CIA got involved with a group called the Mujahideen, and some of them are like Osama bin Laden, right? And he had gone, and many Mujahideen, as they call themselves, freedom fighters, are going to protect a Muslim nation from infidel incursion. And so we were able to smuggle in actually Soviet-made weapons to Afghanistan to help them fight and essentially bleed the Soviets and kill communists. If you want to see a great movie, you gotta go see Charlie Wilson's War. It's political and it's really funny. It's got Philip Seymour. Have you seen it, Murdy? Yeah, it's got Philip Seymour Hoffman and Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks plays Charlie Wilson, this congressman who's a womanizer and drinks a lot. Julia Roberts is in it. It's really good. It's only 90 minutes too. If it didn't have cuss words and boobs, I'd show it to you. We can get parent permission to watch it after school, but not probably during school, unfortunately. It could be our last redhead movie or something. Do what? It's not really that bad. It's just there are a lot of F words. There's a lot of F words. I don't know. I actually don't know how much. There is a scene in a hot tub where all the girls are doing coke, right? They have clothes on. Yeah. So that's probably can't.
That's a little.
Yeah. I first saw it, I was like,
Coke and strippers. Yeah. Probably not during first block AP US.
It's an film.
Right. I should also film and put it on YouTube. Right. I could also violate copyright. Okay. So that's what's going on, and then, as I had mentioned before, so that's going on in Afghanistan. That's going on. We had the SALT stuff not happening. We had the Afghanistan war. In the end, Afghanistan ends up being like the Soviets' Vietnam. They just get bleed dry and they kind of limp home having suffered this loss, and it didn't happen until like 1989. But one of the things America did wrong, and I mentioned this in Charlie Wilson's War, was we did a good job funding the Mujahideen. What we didn't do is go in there now and build schools and build bridges and build infrastructure so there can be a functioning democracy. We just sort of left, and those ultra-radical Mujahideen who were there became radicalized, took the country over, and later the Taliban takes over. And now we're back. This is one of those types where you spend some money and do some stuff up front, and you don't have to spend $1 trillion and 1,000 American lives in 12 years of American treasure later. Foreign policy can work better oftentimes without the wars if you put it in there, and if you're intelligent about it. Now, with Iran, I had mentioned that we had overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh, put in the Shah of Iran. Well, an Islamic revolution happened, a very conservative, young Islamic revolution happened, led by a very polarizing figure named the Ayatollah Khomeini. He was very, very hard line. I remember as a kid, the Ayatollah Khomeini was like so scary to me. Remember on the news when I was a kid, they would show like early 1980s, and it would show him up on a stage, and he'd be praying and bowing, and there'd be a couple 100,000 people, worshiping with him, and they were all saying mean things about America, and it scared me. When you're a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, you don't know what's happening. You're really scared. Well, they were obviously not happy with America because we were essentially behind the Shah of Iran. So that's bad enough in the eyes of the Iranians. But then, one thing that happens is the Shah of Iran flees, right? So he flees, and he gets sick and he gets cancer. Carter allows him to come to America to get cancer treatment. And this does not sit well with the revolution. They went into the American embassy, took the American embassy, and kept American hostages for over 400 days. This was in 1979, and this is going to plague Carter for a couple reasons. Number one, think about what this means about American power. An embassy is being held, and hostages are being held, and America, supposedly the most powerful country on earth, what can we do about it? Nothing. Carter tried to have a SEAL and Delta unit go in there, a couple of helicopters, and have a raid. And on the way, the helicopters crashed in a sandstorm, and it looked even worse. And he looked just absolutely weak and pathetic and unable to... think about that, Madeline. I think you were dozing.
Oh no.
The Ayatollah Khomeini and this poor, very, very backwards nation was dominating America, and America looked really weak. And America had, think about where we're at as a nation. We had just lost the Vietnam War, right? We had no Vietnam War win, inflation, unemployment, and now this dude halfway around the world is keeping our people, and we can't fix it. If you're an American, how do you feel about that? You feel emasculated, right? America was emasculated. All right, so then we get the election in 1980. Is that next?
Yeah.
All right, the election in 1980 is going to be a turning point, and this is where Andrew and Leah get to smile a lot. This is where I was talking about. I might end this early, so tomorrow you have the play, and we'll try to let it go a little bit.
That's okay, you always gotta
I got to go through it. I know you'll have stupid questions
you
about.
gotta suffer one day.
I think I've been pretty fair with Reagan. I'm giving him his credit. Don't you think I'm giving him some credit?
Okay.
I said he was from California.
Triple size of the government.
With the 1980, this is when Edward Kennedy, ran against Carter and challenged him in the primary. So now you have several elections in a row where sitting presidents are being challenged in their own party. Ted Kennedy was much more liberal and was pretty popular. He sort of had the mystique of his brothers. However, he also had a drinking problem, a pretty substantial drinking problem. That's crazy considering he was Irish Catholic. They never have drinking problems, ever.
No, they just.
And one thing that drinking problem did was an incident in, I think it was Massachusetts or outside D.C., I forget. I think it was Massachusetts. Outside an area called Chappaquiddick. He was driving drunk and got in an accident, and a girl died that he was with. And he left the scene of the accident.
Yeah, because I remember Obama was thinking about making him his vice president candidate, and that was supposed to and that might have sunk in.
Well, people, I don't think he gave him too much serious thought because he was really sick by then. Because he had died not long after that. But yeah, I mean, and he kind of got over that. He had been a senator since 1962. That's when he first got elected. And he seemed like he had a real shot. But this happened in the 70s, and it was just too much to overcome.
How did he not get? Did he get tried?
I don't know in terms of what happened legally. He did not go to jail. He didn't go to jail. I don't think there are family press charges.
You're a Kennedy. You don't go to jail.
It's hard for Kennedys to go to jail.
Like I feel.
Well, he didn't stab her.
He got off the wheel.
He began. No, I'm not condoning anything. I'm telling you, he didn't go to jail, and I'm telling you that he's a Kennedy. He got over that, and by the time he died, he's considered one of the 10 best senators, probably one of the 10 greatest senators in our country's history. But that being said, it was a blight on him. So Carter wins nomination, and Reagan comes in as a force. And as he comes in, and he is saying, first of all, one of his campaign slogans was, "Sunshine in America." He's going to make you proud to be an American. It's great to be an American. It's morning in America. We are in the morning. America hasn't even seen its greatest days. Many people were arguing that, America's in the decline, right? The great 50s and early 60s and the World War II triumph were on the way down. Japan and Germany were outproducing, were moving in the direction of outproducing America, right? A lot of our old factories hadn't got a lot of updates. And Germany and Japan, these two nations who had been defeated before, are now on their way up, and we look old and rusted and tired. But Reagan promised change, didn't he, Andrew? And by the way, Iranians, if you don't let our hostages go, when I become president, I'm killing everyone in Tehran. I'm going to carpet bomb you into the Stone Age. You don't pick on America without retribution. And if you're an American, and you've just gotten over the Vietnam War loss, and you've just gotten over Watergate, these are only 5 years since that, right? And now they're holding hostages, our economy's not good and we have inflation. And now you've got this guy saying, no, you got this wrong. America is great. He is not pushing for America's greatness. I will. We're going to be great. I'm going to make things great. And if anybody picks on us, I'm dealing with them. And we're going to make our military bigger and stronger than ever. And old boy got some votes. One thing he was also supported by is the moral majority on there. Oh, add this. He was supported by the moral majority. Jerry Falwell. This is going to be Mary Lee's favorite person in the world. Jerry Falwell was one of the founding people of Liberty University. Ultra conservative. Helped Reagan get elected. Very anti-gay, very anti-woman, very anti-abortion. Pretty anti-minority. Reagan was not the BFF of most minorities. And Jerry Falwell and the moral majority will gain a lot of importance and like prayer in school type of things. The funny part about it was Reagan wasn't even particularly that religious. But he got the votes of every religious white dude in America. Except my grandfather.
My grandparents.
And your grandparents. That's right, they only vote Democrat. My grandfather has never voted for Republican in his life. Do what?
My grandparents.
They didn't vote for him? Oh, there you go. Okay, so apparently there are some white people who didn't vote for him.
I mean, yeah, you know, they leave the hospital and go vote for Obama. Die hard.
All right. So Reagan's going to be in charge, and when we come back tomorrow, we'll learn about Mad versus Nuts and his plans and how he blames global warming on trees. And when you fire a rocket, you can always bring it back.
Yes.
I'm actually really pumped about this. We just put it over in